Hi Gemini, welcome to your mid-May 2020 General Tarot Update. It's Serena here. I was thinking of the Darling Buds of May. I was thinking of Shakespeare or something. No, that's not Shakespeare, is it? Is it Tennyson? I don't know. Anyway, well, probably a Gemini would know the answer to that because you are probably quite literary in your own way. So the next thing that's going on now, we just had a super full moon in Scorpio, and I saw it through the window and it was so gorgeous because it was like hanging so low, and that was on the night of the 7th, and I didn't go out again. I mean 6th, and I didn't go again last night, and I'm kind of kicking myself for that, because that would have been, I'm sure it was, I could have taken a picture of that or something, but it was, for you, that's going to be the 6th house. So some kind of developments with work, and now we have retrogrades. There's a retrograde in Venus that's coming up on the 13th, and that's in your sign. Jupiter next day, the 14th in Capricorn, that's the 8th house for you. And, yeah, Saturn is in there as well, in Aquarius. So the situation with, excuse me, with Saturn is something that definitely could affect you in terms of, you know, something related to higher learning or university. I've already done a forecast video for May, so check out my channel because I've done one for all the signs, so you can find out more information about that. So the heart of the matter is the 7 of Cups. You may just find that you have a lot of options available to you. Maybe you're trying to make a choice about something, and as I had noted in a prior video, I found out that Gemini is considered an indecisive sign, and I really didn't feel that way. I was always focused more on Libra, but I could see why, because you're very open to life. And so it's like, oh, that looks good. Oh, that looks good too. And kind of detached and not really emotionally attached to any particular outcome, perhaps, and some certain decisions you have to make. And you can kind of see different possibilities. So, but if this is something that has kind of plagued you, and if there's a Scorpio person in particular involved, or maybe this is the Scorpio moon, I didn't think about that. I mean, this is in the past position. This is the 8 of Cups, and I think this is connected to Scorpio, but that's, you know, the moon is right there, and the person is really walking away from something in their life that is not spiritually fulfilling, emotionally fulfilling, a relationship or a job. Now, with the 7 of Cups in play here in terms of the bigger picture, in terms of what is going on, or when I say the bigger picture, I mean the focus of this. To me, it's like you're walking away from something, but you're not really walking towards something, which is kind of an interesting thing. I've mentioned this before with that 8 of Cups, is that I don't feel that it's really enough to walk away from something, because sometimes we know what we don't want, but we don't know what we want. And somebody would say, well, I'll figure it out later. But life still goes on. It presents itself to you. There are different options and things like that are available. And this can lead to feeling like a kid in a candy store even. The 7 of Cups could be like that, especially for a Gemini who, you know, tends to view life in terms of variety and, You know, I want, oh, look at all these choices I have. And yet, it makes it hard to decide. When you have a lot of variety, it makes it even harder to decide what you're going to do. So, it's kind of funny that way. So, being able to look at your life in terms of, you know, having that enthusiasm for the variety, the options are available to you, but not getting confused. Or Seven of Cups can sometimes be wishful thinking. So an example would be, let's say this is a relationship issue that has been, you know, going on, dragging on. You are going to have a lunar eclipse in Sag, the first of this set of eclipses, June 5th. Even though we're in May, you may already be dealing with relationship issue bombshells, or just maybe abrupt exits. And that could be on your part. And, you know, or even if it's on the other person's part, you already were dissatisfied with the relationship. It wasn't feeding your soul, if you will. And there may have been reasons why the two of you did not work out for you. But now that you're kind of playing the field, maybe, or you have all these options, you may be like, if you were the one that was left, and I'm not convinced that you were, because to me, the Eight of Cups would be more of the querent, or the person who I'm doing. You know, if I'm doing Gemini, then I would think that the Eight of Cups would be Gemini, because I'm not reading for the other party. But in any case, if for some reason you were the one that was left, you might be trying to kind of distract yourself with these different relationships, and it's really not working, because you may, you know, this could be a card of wishful thinking, distorted thinking, confusion, which can be, you know, with the cups, we're talking about emotions. And sometimes, even when you leave a relationship, that's another good point to make. Even if you were the active party who left the relationship, if you did not have any real conscious intention when you left, you were just thinking, I'm out of here because I'm not satisfied, you might be like jumping in from the frying pan into the fire, because perhaps the other party is not so, you know, like if you have these other people that you feel like you're missing out on meeting, you may find that all that glitters isn't gold. And this is kind of what, you know how they say your eyes are bigger than your stomach, you know what I mean? There's a fickle quality sometimes with Gemini. As much as there is flexibility, there can be fickleness, and that can lead to a person who is, you know, really trying to find their perfect partner, but they're not really committed to a true relationship. They're kind of like a butterfly flitting in the air and landing on each flower. So that's how I see the Seven of Cups for you. The higher message, so this is really the bigger picture card in a lot of ways, but spiritually, is the Ten of Pentacles. Now you see that we have the cups, and now we have the pentacles. Pentacles are connected to the earth element. Now, when it comes to this type of reading, this could be suggesting that you really need to be more grounded. Like I said, the Seven of Cups can be really confused in a sense, and I would add ungroundedness to that. Even though it is the water element, I think that there can be the emotional, I don't know if you call it confusion, I wouldn't say repression, but definitely diffusion of some sort where you're not really dealing with the matter at hand. And, when I think of the Eight of Cups, to me, the person who is really embodying that is somebody who has a strong desire to seek meaning out of life. And so sometimes when people are bored in their relationships, they can just assume that, oh man, this person just doesn't cut it. I only got married to this person because I was pregnant, or she was pregnant, and we really are not meant to be. Yes, of course, that certainly happens. But how many times does it happen that a person can never really have that kind of deep relationship because they are the one who is quite superficial. So they're they're pointing fingers at somebody else, but they're not very deep and committed. And so it's about becoming that kind of grounded person. The 10 of Pentacles can be this, they call it like the card of generational wealth. Well, obviously, if I'm speaking specifically of relationships, then this can mean that we have to translate it into emotional matters. And how this is actually a very good card to get. I don't know about in this position because it's more of a spiritual teaching than, a predictive card or anything like that. But it's really about the kind of relationship that I think stands the test of time. And maybe you are at a stage where you're kind of tired of the confusion. You're tired of going from one thing to the other. If this is anything related to something other than a relationship, like a workplace situation, you may have left a job, but you didn't have a lot of, you weren't strategizing. You were just kind of leaving, maybe, out of emotion, because you were just so emotionally spent, but you didn't really say, whoa, is this situation something that I want to learn from? And maybe even you're going through a spiritual awakening and you're not aware of it. You just know that what used to be satisfying to you is no longer. I always say, the people who are easily amused in life and things like that, the people who can just get by on the bare minimum in life, those kinds of people go through spiritual awakenings too. And Gemini tends to sometimes skim the surface of life. Not talking about all of you, so please don't write me angry comments, because I know full and well that not all Geminis are alike. I'm talking about the template or the archetype of the sign of Gemini and what it represents, because it is connected to this idea of kind of like the Peter Pan. You could call it the Peter Pan syndrome of never growing old, but there's kind of, there can be an immaturity sometimes because the person wants to just, like I said, flit like a butterfly. I'm a Sagittarius, I'm the opposite sign, and we get accused of immaturity as well. Fire and air signs are masculine signs, and they tend to be very freedom-oriented, and therefore they tend to resist the kind of heavy duties or obligations that others embrace. And so we get accused of being immature. It doesn't mean that we are. There may be, a very good reason for us to want that freedom, even a spiritual understanding of life. And we feel that that is more important than anything else, is freedom. So don't, get me wrong. I know that not all Geminis are the same. But if you resonate with that, and if you feel like, frustrated that you can't seem to have a relationship that is more long-lasting, the first thing that you probably want to do is to really resist the temptation to just spread yourself thin. Like, that's how I see the Seven of Cups too, is that maybe you're getting involved in multiple relationships and your emotions get involved and you think, I can handle this. I know that I can handle having these 2 relationships or 3, whatever they are. I mean, there's 7 cups there, so it might be something more than that. But if this is a work situation, you may feel like you weren't at a place where you're utilizing your talents, but you don't know what you want to do. And this is can be confounding, because I understand that perfectly. The idea of being unhappy where one is, but not having that vision for oneself. And so that should be something that you cultivate it. You're going to have your solar return. I'm not going to talk too much about that. This is because I'm going to be doing an end of May update. Maybe in the next week. But just know that you're going to have that the sun go into your sign this month. That's why I did your sign first. And this is a great time to think very intentionally about what it is that you want to create. What crosses you is the Strength card. So there may be some lack of confidence. I think, again, going back to the Seven of Cups, if there is, it's not so much that you doubt yourself, it's that you don't have a sense of direction. That's not really insecurity. It may be like ADD, like having that, having too many irons and too many fires. And so, for sure, if that resonates with you, make sure that you are willing to consider, being much more focused. And the way that you do that, if you tend to date multiple people at once, date them individually. That doesn't mean that you just, neglect other people, but get to know somebody at a deep level. Don't get involved with them physically too soon. Don't just cut to the chase, but really get to know somebody, and you will be surprised at how much more substantial the potential relationship is. The Strength card connects to Leo, so that could also be somebody with the Venus retrograde in your sign. If somebody comes back into your life, perhaps this is one of the things that happened, is that did you leave your current relationship for somebody who is not, who promised something and didn't deliver? If that's the case, they may be the weak link, and therefore you shouldn't trust them because they've already proven that they can't be trusted. So if it is with the sign of Leo, I don't know, but something like that. I did get another card that's Leo, so that's interesting. What's coming in is a Five of Wands. For some of you, this can be just the idea of strutting your stuff, showing what you've got, either competitively, trying to get a new job, showcasing your talents. It's interesting that this is Wands, because Wands relate to the will, to the, I would even say the confidence or the self-esteem as well, the sense of self. And with the Five of Wands, sometimes this can be a very competitive situation. So you may have walked away from something only to have to really step up your game. And that's okay. It's interesting. Sometimes people play small and live mediocre lives because they are afraid of showing others what they have. And I feel like not all the times, but sometimes this is because they had a twisted belief that they were not allowed to, be all of who they are. Perhaps playing small made somebody else feel comfortable, a mate, a parent, something along those lines. And you have unconsciously accepted this in your life, and you're afraid to kind of really strut your stuff. But you may have to. And this could also apply to relationships. You may get involved with somebody only to discover that you're not the only one on the scene. Somebody else is there. Maybe an ex of theirs during the Venus retrograde, and you have to kind of show that you're the one for them. And it's very interesting. Not sure if that resonates with some of you, but I could see, because even the outcome is a card of victory. So you get the girl, the guy, you get the job, you get the recognition. This is a card of recognition. Now, this is a card connected to Leo, and so one of, Leo is ruled by the sun, and the sun is that part of us that we really, I would say, honor, that we, where we feel like we are, showing the world what we have. To me, that's the ultimate sign of somebody who is embracing themselves with self-love, is that they can accept praise, they can accept a relationship with somebody who sees the good in them. So by all means, do that. If this is somebody, if you are currently seeing somebody, they may be showering you with praise and telling you how great you are. And this may be a novelty for some of you. And it might feel damn uncomfortable because you're used to feeling like you can't do anything good enough. If you've been coming out of a relationship that was negative, unsatisfying. So if that's the case, this is going to be a stark contrast. But believe it or not, it can be very scary. Same thing in the workplace. If you're used to complaining about your boss and having negative experiences, to have a positive one, you would think would be like the greatest thing ever, but it can feel very scary because then it forces you to change your narrative in life. The narrative of like, I'm always experiencing this or that. So in any case, I hope that you enjoyed this. Happy birthday to you. Well, I'll be seeing you before the new moon in Gemini, so I guess I'll hold off on that until then. But thanks for watching. If you'd like a personal reading, most of my readings are astrology based. I would love to do your natal chart combined with some of the transits that are coming up in 2020 for you. This is, as you know full and well, has been a really intense first part of 2020. I think we'll never forget this year. But how many astrologers predicted that? I certainly don't remember any, when they did their forecast. So you might say that's really odd for me to say that when I'm trying to speak about doing personal readings. But the point is actually something really good, is that if you just look at astrology in terms of fortune telling, then you're not giving it the credit it deserves. The very best use of astrology, in my opinion, is personal evolution. Predictions are so subject to interpretation that's not even funny, even for people who specialize in mundane astrology. You never quite know how it's going to show up, some of these events. And even when you're pinpointing that, timing or what have you, it could still show up in a different way. So I feel like everything that we can do to co-create our reality is extremely valuable in and of itself. But anyway, the link to my website is below. It's rainandmoonastrology.com. And again, thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.